Hello everyone. In this particular video, we are going to start with unit 3, that is movement in and out of cells. Okay, from paper code 0610 IGCSE biology, right? So in this particular unit, we are actually going to deal with how things moves, inside and outside the cell. You know that cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Okay, so inside cell, there are many processes which takes place. There are many life processes which actually takes place inside cell. For example, like respiration, okay, photosynthesis, protein synthesis. So like this, we have many processes which occurs inside the cell. Okay, now for these processes, we require, substrate molecules or components. Many things are required. So how these substrate molecules actually enter inside the cell, and the waste products which are produced by the cells, they are also supposed to be excreted by the body or by the cell. So how these waste products also move out of the cell. Okay, so transport across cell is mainly of two types: passive transport and active transport. By listening to the name itself, you can say passive means something in which energy is not involved. Okay, and active transport means something in which energy is required. Okay, so in passive transport, cellular energy is not used. Okay, there is a difference. Remember this carefully. In passive transport, no cellular energy is required by the process. Okay, you are aware, you have studied in your lower classes about respiration, and you know that in the process of respiration, cells release large amount of energy. So this energy in cells is actually stored in form of ATP molecules, right? So in the process of passive transport, this stored form of energy, that is energy which is stored in the form of ATP molecules inside the cells, is not required. Okay, because passive transport is always down the concentration gradient. That means in passive transport, a molecule or substance always moves from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Okay, it always moves from its region of higher concentration to lower concentration. So hence, if something is like, going down the concentration, so no energy is required. Okay, no cellular energy is required. How these molecules move? The molecules, they move by using their own kinetic energy. No extra cellular energy or no extra push is required on the molecules in order to move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. So the two examples of passive transport is diffusion and osmosis, right? In case of active transport is always against the concentration gradient. That means substances or molecules or particles, they always move from lower concentration to higher concentration. Hence, in active transport, always cellular energy is required. The energy is stored in form of ATP. Okay, and this active transport is always against the concentration gradient, right? So we require energy or cellular energy in the process of active transport. So in this video, we are going to learn about diffusion, which is a type of passive transport. When we talk about diffusion, things which you have to remember carefully is, just look at this image given on the screen. For example, here you have so many particles. Okay, left side, if you see here you have so many particles. So here the concentration of particle is more. Okay, here the concentration of particle is more. And right side, if you see in this particular area, the same particles or same molecules are present. Here the concentration of molecules is less. Okay, so what happens in the case of diffusion, these molecules, they always move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Okay, this is one very important point which you have to remember. Okay, so in case of diffusion, the net movement of molecules from a region of higher concentration to lower concentration. This is one point. Okay, that means down the concentration gradient. When we say higher concentration to lower concentration, that means down the concentration gradient. Okay, second very important point which you have to remember is that how these particles move, from where does these particles they get energy. Okay, so you are aware of kinetic energy and potential energy. Okay, kinetic energy is the energy which is used by any molecule or particle while moving, okay, in movement. Okay, so these particles, they all possess some of its kinetic energy. Okay, some of its kinetic energy is present in all the molecules. So these molecules, they use their own kinetic energy in order to move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Okay, so this is the second most important point which you have to remember. And the third most important point is this diffusion is actually a result of random movement of particles. Okay, so these particles, they move randomly here and there, and hence they shift from higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay, so whenever you write the definition of diffusion, these 3 points you must include: that diffusion is net movement of particles or molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, this is 1 point. Okay, then the kinetic energy present in the molecules is required by molecule in order to move from one region to the another region. Okay, so the second point which you have to remember is these particles, they always move because of the kinetic energy possessed by them. Okay, and third point which you have to remember is these particles, they move randomly. Okay, so diffusion is a result of random movement of the particles. I'll just show you one image. You will understand the meaning of random movement. Now you can see here these 3 particles, blue, yellow and red color particles. Now you can just see the path of these particles traced. Okay, this is a pathway of the particles traced. Okay, so if you look at blue, yellow and red color particle, the direction followed by this particle is not continuous. Sometimes they move in this direction and sometimes they move in that direction. Okay, so this is called random movement, that their direction is not fixed. They can move randomly here and there, and finally they move from higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Okay, so diffusion, remember, it's a result of random movement of particles. It takes place from higher concentration to lower concentration, and energy possessed by particles, that is kinetic energy possessed by particle, is the only energy used in the process of diffusion. Okay, apart from this, another very important point which you have to remember about diffusion is that diffusion occurs in both gases as well as liquids. Okay, hence diffusion is actually takes place in fluids. Okay, it can occur in gases, that is in air which is present around you, as well as it can also takes place in water. Okay, water present around you. Okay, now diffusion occurs around us in our surrounding, as well as it also takes place inside living organisms body. Okay, so when we say that diffusion can take place inside living organisms body, inside our body we have cells, and cells are always surrounded by semi-permeable cell membrane. Okay, so remember, for diffusion, cell membrane or semi-permeable membrane is not compulsory. Okay, it is diffusion can take place around us in our surrounding where no membrane is present, and it can also take place inside the body of living organism. Okay, inside cell where membrane is present. So for diffusion, we don't require membrane always. Okay, semi-permeable membrane can or cannot be present. It depends on where diffusion is taking place. If diffusion is taking place around us in our surrounding, okay, in our natural surrounding, so no semi-permeable membrane is present. But when diffusion is taking place inside the living organism's body, inside cell, there semi-permeable membrane is present. Now here is the example of diffusion in our surrounding. For example, you have taken a beaker which is having water. Now you know that potassium permanganate is actually a chemical compound. Okay, so this potassium permanganate, it's available in crystal forms, solid crystal forms. So if you'll drop a pinch of crystals inside water, okay, now you can see in the first image here the concentration of this potassium permanganate, which is magenta in color, is maximum here at this particular point where the crystals are present. Now slowly these particles, they're diffusing into the water. Now look at the second image, little bit they have diffused. Okay, so the concentration, potassium permanganate particles are moving into rest of the water. Look at the third image, the circle or the area where these crystals are present. This particular area is increased. Why? Because these crystals are moving from higher concentration to the lower concentration region. Look at the fourth image and finally the last image. So if you look at the last image, you can make out that potassium permanganate crystals are, completely evenly spread throughout the water. Okay. Now if you see the area where potassium permanganate crystals were present, okay, here we had the highest concentration of the potassium permanganate crystal, and in rest of the water it was present in lower concentration. Hence the particles of potassium permanganate have moved from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Okay. Hence the crystals of potassium permanganate have been, equally distributed into the water. Another example, you can say diffusion of air freshener or diffusion of perfume molecules. For example, in one corner of room, if you spray perfume, okay, or if you spray air freshener and a person is standing on the other corner of the room, okay, so the person can easily, after a few seconds, person can easily smell or person can easily get the fragrance of that particular air freshener or perfume. Why? Because the corner in which you have sprayed the perfume, there it is present in the higher concentration, and the other corners of the room, the perfume molecules are not at all present. Okay, so there we have lower concentration of the perfume molecules. So hence, because of the process of diffusion, these perfume molecules will move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Okay, I hope you you're clear with the meaning of diffusion. Next, we will learn about the importance of diffusion in living organisms. Now, when we talk about importance of diffusion in living organisms, first we'll talk about animals and then about plants. So in case of animals, where does diffusion occur? One very important part where diffusion takes place is lungs. Okay, lungs is a very important organ where diffusion occurs. Now you have studied in the lower classes the structure of lungs. Inside lungs we have many, small balloon or small ball-like structures which are known as alveoli. Okay, singular is alveolus and plural is alveoli. So these alveoli are completely, covered with the blood vessels. Okay, here the enlarged image is given. So each alveoli is covered with blood capillaries. Okay, now when we inhale air, so inside the air which is filled inside alveoli, that particular air is rich in oxygen gas, and the blood which is present in the blood capillary around alveoli, okay, this blood is rich in carbon dioxide. So what happens is, in lungs, exchange of gas takes place. Now you have to remember that this exchange of gas which occurs in lungs, that is oxygen from alveoli, moves to the blood capillaries, and carbon dioxide from blood, okay, goes back to the air which is present inside the alveoli. So these two exchange of gas takes place by the process of diffusion. Okay, inside blood the concentration of oxygen is less. Okay, oxygen is present in higher concentration in the air in lungs or in alveoli. So oxygen moves from higher concentration to the lower concentration by the process of diffusion. If you'll look here carefully, so in this particular case, alveoli is again made up of cell. It is one cell thick. Okay, so alveoli is having a cell membrane. Okay, alveoli is surrounded by a cell membrane. So in this example of diffusion, cell membrane is involved. But if we look at the previous slide here, when we talk about diffusion of air freshener or diffusion of potassium permanganate crystal in water, no cell membrane is present. Okay. The second example of diffusion in animals is absorption of digested food in small intestine. Now we know that our entire food gets completely digested in small intestine. And once the food gets completely digested, it is supposed to be absorbed into the blood or lymph so that, other parts of the body can also utilize them. The walls of small intestine is having millions of tiny hair-like projections, which are known as villi. Okay, these are microscopic projections. So they are known as villi. Okay. Now inside villi we have blood capillaries, as it is shown here, the red and blue color. Okay. You can look here, the red and blue color are the blood capillaries. And we also have, this is lymphatic vessel, which is known as lacteal. Okay. Inside this, lymph is present. So in detail about lacteal and these blood capillaries, you learn in transportation system. Okay. So once the food gets completely digested, it is absorbed into these two. Fats gets digested into fatty acids and glycerol, and all carbohydrates, they get digested into monosaccharides, that is simplest form of sugar like glucose. Okay. Then we have fructose, etc. And proteins gets completely digested into amino acids, right? So these fats are actually absorbed into the lacteal or the lymphatic vessel. These fatty acids and glycerols, they move into the lymphatic vessel with the help of diffusion process. Okay, so remember, fatty acids and glycerol, they are absorbed by the help of diffusion process. Okay, glucose is actually absorbed into the blood capillaries by the process of active transport, because the concentration of glucose inside blood is always higher than the concentration of glucose inside the small intestine. So they move by the process of active transport, and amino acids move by the process of facilitated diffusion. Okay, so what is facilitated diffusion? You will learn in higher classes. Third example in human body where the process of diffusion takes place is in kidneys. Both kidneys in a body is actually consist of millions of tiny units which are known as nephrons. So if you look here, the structure of nephron, the nephron is having a small cup-like structure which is known as Bowman's capsule, and then it is having a long tube, and then this tube is actually known as a loop of Henle. Okay, this tube is called loop of Henle. Okay, and inside Bowman's capsule we have the bundle of blood vessels. Okay, and these blood vessels are also present around the loop of Henle. Okay, and this bundle of blood vessels are mainly blood capillaries. So when blood comes inside this glomerulus, which is a bundle of blood vessels. So from blood, water, salts, glucose, and the excretory product called urea goes to the Bowman's capsule by the process of diffusion. Okay. So from glomerulus, the blood which is present in the glomerulus, water, glucose, salts, and urea goes to the Bowman's capsule with the help of diffusion process. And when this entire filtrate, okay, when it passes through the loop of Henle, around loop of Henle we have here blood capillaries or blood vessels. Okay, so when this entire filtrate passes through the loop of Henle, we know that water is essential for a body, glucose is also essential, and these salts are also essential. So what happens is these water, glucose, and salt is reabsorbed into the blood vessels. Okay, so again this glucose, salt, and water is reabsorbed into the blood vessel from this area, that is loop of Henle, by the process of diffusion. Now you have to remember one thing, that when absorption of glucose occurs in small intestine, glucose is always absorbed in small intestine by the process of active transport. But in case of kidneys, glucose are always absorbed, or glucose are always reabsorbed by the process of diffusion. Okay. Next, in case of plants, diffusion takes place in leaf for the exchange of gas. The lower side of every leaf is having small opening which is known as stomata. Stomata helps in actually exchange of gas. Carbon dioxide is required for the process of photosynthesis by plants. So carbon dioxide is present in the air surrounding the leaf. So carbon dioxide moves from air inside the leaf, and in the process of photosynthesis, oxygen gas is released as a waste product. So this gas moves out of the leaf. Okay, so carbon dioxide moves from air into the leaf through stomata, and oxygen gas moves from leaf into the air through stomata. So this exchange of gas across stomata in plants takes place with the help of diffusion process. Apart from that, transpiration process, very important process in which plants, they lose or they release excess of water from leaves in the form of water vapor. So this particular process also takes place because of diffusion. Once the water gets converted into water vapors are now in gaseous form. So these water vapors move out of stomata by the process of diffusion. Third one is translocation of food in plants. So we know that in the process of photosynthesis, glucose is prepared, glucose is synthesized into the leaf, but all the cells of plants, they require glucose. Only leaves alone cannot consume entire glucose. Okay. So leaves alone cannot consume entire glucose. Okay. So this glucose is converted into starch, which is a stored form of food inside the leaf. And when this glucose has to be transported to different parts of the plant, glucose is converted into sucrose. Okay. And then it goes to different parts of the plant. So this transportation or this translocation of food in plants is also because of the process of diffusion. Now you know that inside leaves, the concentration of sucrose is more or higher compared to the stem or branch or any fruit or flower, any other part of the plant. So always this glucose or the sucrose, the sugar is moving from higher concentration region to the lower concentration region. So exchange of gas across stomata, transpiration, translocation of food in plants, all these are the examples of diffusion. The last topic about diffusion is factors which affects the rate of diffusion. Okay. Now the first very important factor which affects the rate of diffusion is surface area. So if surface area will be more, the rate of diffusion increases. Rate of diffusion means speed of diffusion process increases. And if surface area is less, speed of diffusion or rate of diffusion decreases. Now look here at this diagram. If you look here at this circle, okay, for example, here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 molecules which are actually moving at a time. Okay, which can actually move inside this circular cell at a time. Okay, but if you look here at the star, if you look at the star here at a time, we can see that around 12 molecules move together. Okay, so in first case here we have small surface area, and in second case here we have more surface area. Just by the change in shape, the surface area available for the process of diffusion has changed. Okay, so if surface area is more, okay, obviously rate of diffusion increases, because in one particular time more number of molecules can be diffused from one region to the another region. Okay, so remember that if surface area is more, if there is increase in surface area, rate of diffusion will also increase, and if there is decrease in surface area, rate of diffusion will also decrease. Next factor which affects the rate of diffusion is temperature. So remember that if temperature increases, the rate of diffusion also increases, and if temperature decreases, the rate of diffusion also decreases. Now you know that in the process of diffusion, all these particles, they move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, because they all particles possess kinetic energy. Okay, so with the help of this kinetic energy, particles are able to move from one region to another region. Fine. So when we increase temperature, what happens is the kinetic energy of these particles increases. Okay, increasing temperature means increasing heat amount, increasing the amount of heat present in the surrounding. So as this heat increases, what will happen? The kinetic energy of particles will increase. Okay, so hence increase in temperature causes increase in kinetic energy of the particles, and hence the rate of diffusion increases. But if we decrease temperature, kinetic energy of the particles will decrease and rate of diffusion will also decrease. Here we have the example of a tea bag which is dipped in hot water and ice cold water. Now for example, if this tea bag was dipped in hot water and ice cold water for 5 minutes, for example, so what happens is in case of hot water, the tea particles which are present inside the tea bag, they have received more amount of kinetic energy. So they have moved from tea bag, that is higher concentration, to the entire water where the concentration of tea was nil. Okay, but in case of cold water, ice cold water, as the temperature was very low, the kinetic energy of these tea particles was decreased. Okay, and hence the tea particles were not able to move from higher concentration, that is from tea bag to the lower concentration. Okay, so remember this, as temperature increases, rate of diffusion also increases, and the reason is increase in temperature increases the kinetic energy of the particles. Third, very important factor which affects the rate of diffusion is concentration gradient. Okay, so first you should understand what is the meaning of concentration gradient. The meaning of term gradient is difference in concentration. Okay, so concentration gradient refers to the difference in concentration of particles between two areas. Okay, so difference in concentration of particles from one area to another is known as concentration gradient. Okay, so remember, if greater the concentration, okay, if concentration gradient is more, if concentration gradient is higher, rapid or faster will be the diffusion process. Okay, now look at the right side image here. If you see, in first image, the concentration gradient is low. That is, here you have 10 particles and here you have 4 particles. So difference is only of 6. Okay. But in second case, the concentration gradient is more. Okay. Here you have 18 particles and here you have 4. That is, the difference is of 12 particles. So in second case, when the concentration gradient is higher, diffusion, rate of diffusion is faster. And in first case, when the concentration gradient is less, rate of diffusion is also less. Okay, so remember, greater the concentration gradient, rapid or faster will be the diffusion. Okay, one more example or one more image is given here, which will help you in understanding this concentration gradient in much better way. Remember, when concentration gradient is more, that can also be called when concentration gradient is steep. Okay, when it is steeper. Okay, now if you look at this particular slope, if the slope is more steeper, ball will roll down faster compared to the slope which is like, which is not steep. Okay, so if you look at these two slopes, it will compare. The first slope is more steeper compared to the second one. Okay, so if we'll roll a ball from the first slope, it will move or it will come down at faster rate compared to the ball which will roll down from the second slope here. Okay, so if concentration gradient is more, or it can also be called, if concentration gradient is more steep, the rate of diffusion will be higher compared to the when concentration gradient is less steep or concentration gradient is less. Fine. The last factor which affects the rate of diffusion is distance. So if distance between the two regions, that is higher concentration and lower concentration region, so if the distance between these two regions is more, rate of diffusion will be less. Okay, why? Because when the distance is more, you are already aware that diffusion is a result of random movement of particles. So these particles might they move randomly and they might get deviated from the original path. Okay, from the original direction, they might get deviated from their original path or original direction, and they move here and there, and they might not reach the actual region of lower concentration. Okay, so remember this, if distance will be more, the rate of diffusion will be slower, and if distance is less, the rate of diffusion will be faster. So we have discussed about what is diffusion. Okay, what are the transport methods of transport across cell membrane, then what is diffusion, okay, examples of diffusion in plants and animals, and the factors which are affecting diffusion. In next video, we will learn about osmosis.